Hi guys, how are y'all? Today I'm going to do Dungeon 6 walkthrough guide. In this video the first part, and in a later video the second part of the dungeon. As you can see, this is quite an old recording, because I was planning on doing this for about a week already now, maybe even more. But that doesn't mind a lot. As you can see, with the new update, the dungeons are quite tough to bring into a map, but I found another strategy for it. You can actually look at the mana and the gold rewards of the dungeon, and that goes up 150 each next dungeon, so you can really quite good follow that to know which dungeon is the next and which dungeon is which dungeon. And this is the first dungeon, and as you can see, I'm using Atlantic Core, and I'm certainly going to use Atlantic Core to open. And what I want to do here is take out Spirit Mage, and even without Atlantic Core I would have to drop here and just replace Paladin, just replace Atlantic Core with a Paladin, and as soon as Spirit Mage starts to hit, drop Guardian Angel, which actually is quite what I'm going to do right now, because Spirit Mage is about to proc and I want to have my other heroes survive, and that's actually the moment when you have to drop Guardian Angel, or just before Paladin is going to die, of course. This way you will have Restoration left to save your heroes from Ninja and Druid right there. Didn't quite work out for me right here, but even with just 4 heroes you can easily clean up this dungeon, because Spirit Mage and Thunder God just proc on the heroes that are at the Succubus and Champ, so that's quite an easy route to do it. It's not easy to do it without hero losses, but of course that's why it's not a dungeon you are farming. And if you want to get through a dungeon, you shouldn't mind too much about the hero losses. Second dungeon is going to be the top route, because the second one goes upwards, so it's just 150 more resources, and it shows that it actually is the second dungeon. This dungeon is a bit more easy, I believe, because Spirit Mage and Succubus are both at one side, and again I'm going to use an Atlantic Core opening. You could also just use a Paladin opening and drop all your heroes as soon as Spirit Mage seems to be the closest to the walls, meaning that you can actually make sure that all your heroes target Spirit Mage and take her out. Succubus isn't a really problem, because with the new AI she actually walks around the wall, and that's taking Succubus quite a long time. So you don't have to bother much about that. And for the rest, the dungeon is quite a walk in the park, because there's nothing really to worry about. Pumpkin Duke is going to die here probably, because he's just out of range of Druid's heal, but it's really easy when you get rid of Spirit Mage, as is every dungeon. So, well, let's go on to the third dungeon, and as I'm going to show you is that you can see that from the second dungeon it actually seems to split up, and it actually does, and the top one is the third one, because that one is 150 more, and this one is quite an easy dungeon to do. And I believe I was mistaking which one I already had done, but actually this one is the first one of the third one, and it's actually quite an easy dungeon to do, because it's quite a straight line and you can easily open at the druid just like you're doing with dungeon 5 skull 1, and it actually goes the same way. You wait till druid is at the right side. I didn't do that right here, but you should really make sure that all your heroes target druid, because I had to use my restoration earlier here and still lost druid. It's still an easy dungeon, so I'm still getting through it without druid, but it's actually quite an essential mistake I made right there, just not making sure that the druid would die first, and that's really bad if that happens, because you have to chew through hero base first, and it's not going too well from there. But as you can see, 4 heroes, and they're actually cleaning up quite well, just because there's no threat at all. So yeah, I waited a while and I made sure that my druid was back alive. This is the 4th dungeon I'm going to do, and this one goes in the bottom line, but that's because they split up in really short paths, and the bottom one also connects to the top one, and but I really prefer just going through the top lane if you want to reach dungeon 6 skull 1. This one is quite similar to the one before, but it actually isn't good to do this with the straight line strategy. You can easily open with Atlantic Core here and drop Guardian Angel just when Spirit Mage is about to proc or is about to kill Atlantic Core. You can use it with Paladin too, just like I did in the first dungeon. Wait till Paladin almost dies, drop Guardian Angel, and make sure that most of your heroes just survive. I lost Atlantic Core there because I really pushed it a bit too far, I believe. But as always, it's not about doing it without hero losses. It's about doing it as easily as possible, just making sure you defeat the dungeon, and you can defeat a dungeon without your tank quite easily. That's actually why you are using a tank, because he can take a few hits and make sure the rest won't die instead of your other heroes. Yeah, so yeah, and it takes some magic too, but that's not too bad. Dungeon 5 is also in the top lane again. As you can see, that one is again 150 more, and that's what I really love about the reward system, is that you can actually count your way up and just make sure that every dungeon is the right dungeon. So this dungeon is again quite similar. It's straight path, but it's actually not really that much, but you can easily take out Druid here with dropping everything at Druid. Won't kill your tank, and the rest will be piece of cake, because Spirit Mage will proc on heroes, or Thunder God will, maybe Reaper will, but the heroes will get a few procs, and you can actually save your magic for when the rest of the heroes walk in. And I'm going to use Restoration here on Succubus, and well, I'm losing Reaper there because I actually had to use Guardian Angel. I'm sometimes quite a bit silly, a bit sloppy, especially when I'm just getting through dungeons, and of course I already did that, but I just wanted to get through, and I'm actually throwing in guardians here. I don't know why I'm doing that, but it looks really fun to do. They all die, but I'm doing it just because I can. And that's actually how I got through. I just dirtled a bit around, just not being quite serious getting through and not worrying about getting through. But if you want to do it as fast as possible, I recommend just using your magic carefully. So this one is the 6th dungeon, and this one is again in the bottom, and I believe the 6th and the 5th are connected to each other. I don't know that for sure, but it actually is quite a weird dungeon because it doesn't have the clear path, and I'm actually going to use Pumpkin Duke here. I don't know why I'm going to do that. Obviously it made sense to me, but it's a weird dungeon because everything is really compact and there are a lot of walls. And oh wait, this is probably why I was using Pumpkin Duke, because you can actually let Pumpkin Duke get a few hits on that wall and make sure that your heroes are moving a bit faster. I actually used Atlantic Core there to draw champions so that my heroes wouldn't have to face all heroes at the same time. That does make Atlantic Core die, but the rest is quite easy. I don't know for this dungeon if this is the best path, but I do know it's a fun path to do, because if you do get Pumpkin Duke to actually get more hits on walls, because he would move from another wall to another wall and skip walls and just get a few procs on, maybe use Ars Frenzy when they get through and all still are together, throw in some dragons. It will be a really fun dungeon if you can do it in quite a few seconds. So I'm buying my magic here again, and I'm going to do dungeon 7, and this one is in the top lane, and this is the second dungeon before dungeon 6 Call 1, and the next one is going to be in the top 2 because they all just path right to dungeon 6 Call 1, and this one is quite an easy one again. It's a straight line dungeon, but it offers you the possibility to drop Druid in the middle, Thunder God and Spirit Mage both on one side, and then just drop Reaper in the middle too. I don't know if I had to drop Atlantic Core in, but I'm still using. And why this is quite easy is because this makes that your Druid doesn't wander off around the walls, because a lot of the buildings are actually in range of buildings out of the wall, so a lot of buildings can be targeted when you actually walk around, and Druid will do that if you won't have him path straight inward. And okay, he did wander off to the side where Thunder God is, but Thunder God smacked a few walls first so that Druid didn't wander off, and that's to me quite an essential thing to do in this dungeon, and which actually makes it easier to do. And I'm losing Thunder God here, which probably means that I'm going to do it without Thunder God right here, and I think I will be right fine without Thunder God, just to show you guys that you don't actually need to use Thunder God. It's taking damn long, by the way, to have me click on the exit button. I probably was watching on my phone, reading the guild chat or something. Anyway, I'm going to use Pumpkin Duke because Pumpkin Duke is of course the 6th hero in doing dungeons. And I'm going to do the last dungeon before dungeon 6 Call 1, and it will be the last dungeon of this video. I'm going to enter at Spirit Mage again, usual opening, the Atlantic Core opening, which again can be replaced by the Pally opening together with Guardian Angel. You just have to use your magic slightly bit earlier, because Atlantic Core is something like a mini Guardian Angel for free when he has 5 Revitalize. But again, it just doesn't mind too much. You can replace Atlantic Core with 5/5, or not a 5/5 Revitalize Paladin. It can be replaced, but actually any Paladin, and Paladin can tank good enough, and you just have to make sure that your magic is better placed than how I place it, because I'm a really bad dungeoner when I'm just recording and not caring about my heroes at all, which actually is something of the latest week or two, I think, because I don't care about experience at the moment. I'm earning that enough through farming wave G anyway. I'm not showing Dungeon 6 Co-1 in this one because I have another video on that one, and I'm going to show part 2 of this dungeon very soon, because I also have those videos already standing ready for me and be ready to put audio on, so it's going to be uploaded really soon. I thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe to my channel, and see you later, guys.